My presentation is on Francisco de Goya by me, Keelan O'Connor. So some background information about Francisco de Goya was he was born in Fuentetodos, Spain on March 30th, 1746, and he died in Bordeaux, France on April 16th, 1828. He was also married to his art teacher's sister, Josefa, and had one child named Xavier. In the beginning, so in 1760, around the age of 14, Goya began his 4-year apprenticeship with Jose, a painter who had studied in Naples. Most of his apprenticeship was done in Spain, where he would live most of his life and produce most of his art. He learned a lot by imitation of his teacher. He had also entered in 2 competitions held by the Real Academia, which he would later become the deputy director of, and he was also rejected from this art school as well. Later on, he became the painter by the King of Spain, who at the time was Charles III, and then became the court painter by Charles IV. And he raised through most of his status through the royal court and was highly commissioned by many other high-class people during that time. Throughout Goya's life, he did many wonderful artworks, and he later became ill, and during that time he looked over his art and kind of saw the way he was changing from a light, joyful portraits and prints to a more darker, black, political, challenging paintings he was starting to produce. During that time, he also made a lot of uncommissioned art as well. After completing many of his now famous paintings, he had done a lot of political paintings and a lot of other pieces that he would later get more judgment towards because of the political situations in Spain, when he later became ill again, which almost killed him from a mysterious illness that is still not known today. He often talked about the corruption and greed and repression in his art of Spain and the leaders. No matter who was commissioning the art, he still found a way to throw the people's voice into his art, even if it was going to challenge many of the people who would commission his art. He later moved to Bordeaux, France, where he was actually willingly exiled because of his political pieces, where he did a few more pieces of artworks, but eventually he would spend the rest of his days there and would die in France. So the first piece I'm going to talk about is Saturn devouring his son. So the painting here shows Titan devouring his own child. He was from Greek mythology, and he believed that one of his own children would overthrow him, much that he did to his own father, so he would eat his own children upon birth, and this painting was painted during his time of black paintings. The 3rd of May, 1808, This painting is shown what would have been a scene from the Peninsular War, showing the horrors of war, and it was much different than any other piece he had done in this time, and was inspired by making a stand and telling the story of the people and showing the uprising of Madrid over the French, and would inspire many other famous war artworks. So the next piece is an heroic feat with dead men. It was done in 1810. This is an etching, not a painting, which he was usually known for. So he did both prints, etching, and painting as well. So the etching is inspired by the slaughter that took place in Chichon on December 27th, 1808, after 4 French soldiers were murdered. French troops responded by attacking the town. They sacked and burned many buildings and executed 86 townspeople, some in the streets of Chichon and others on the road of Erjuanes, where the barracks of the imperial troops had been set up. So the next piece is the nude Maha. It was done between 1797 through about 1800. It portrays a nude woman reclining on a bed of pillows, which was commissioned by Manuel de Godoy to hang in his private collection. Goya painted a painting of the same woman in an identical pose, but clothed, known as La Maja Vestida. So the next artwork that he has done was Witch's Sabbath, which was done between 1821 and 1823. The painting shows themes of violence, intimidation, agony, and death. So it portrays Satan as a goat in the moonlight of a silhouette as he's looks over a coven of terrified witches. Goya was around 75 years old when he had done this painting and was living alone and suffering from mental and physical distress during that time. So the next piece of work is Charles IV of Spain and his family in the 1800s. The portrait shows a life-size depiction of Charles IV of Spain and his family dressed in fine costume and jewelry. This was one of his very first pieces after being commissioned and announced first chamber painter to the royal family. The Sleep of Reason produces monsters. This was done in 1797 through 1799. This is another etching. It shows a man, which many think is Goya himself, actually sleeping among his art tools, while bats and owls flew around him, symbolizing a nightmare, which many think were to represent Spain and its political situation and many of the challenges the people were having during that time. So next is the Black Duchess of 1797. The painting is of Maria Cayenta de Silva, the 13th Duchess of Alba, around the age of 35 years old. The painting is very close in comparison to his other painting he's done, which was called The White Duchess. So that is my presentation on Francisco de Goya. I hope you enjoyed, and that is it. Thank you.